This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars.
Welcome everybody to the Scott County Cardinals News Graphic Football Coaches Show, episode 11. It's the bye week edition of the Coaches Show. Cardinals had their bye week this year, drew it in the last week of the regular season, so there will be some other teams throughout the state that will be playing this Friday night. The Cardinals will not be one of them, and that changed their week dramatically. We'll talk about that as the show goes on. I'd like to start with talking about last week, and why not talk about last week? Because it was one of the finest weeks of the season for Scott County. They went to Louisville to face Pleasure Ridge Park in a game that promised to be a showdown between two teams that were ranked in the top 6 in the state by just about every poll and computer ranking you could imagine. Scott County made it look like any other night. In fact, almost looked like some of the district games this year are even easier than most of those. They scored in their first 7 possessions. It was 42-0 out of the gate. Running clock took effect about 6 minutes into the second quarter. They led 48-7 at the half and went on to a 48-21 victory. That's 5 in a row to end the regular season, 8-2. They will go in as the top seed in their regional. In each region, you're paired with another district. So the Cards being in District 7 will be going up against District H, which will include Tates Creek, Madison Central, Lafayette, and George Rogers Clark. Now in the first round, Scott County will play George Rogers Clark. It's an interesting story because it's a team that kind of begged off from playing Scott County. In fact, a lot of the teams in that district, other than Lafayette, have kind of said no to playing against the Cardinals over recent years. Didn't want to deal with what had become kind of an automatic loss for them, and now they're going to have no choice if they run into Scott County in the playoffs. So this week has been the bye week. It's a little different atmosphere around the camp, as you may detect from some of the interviews. Everybody seems very relaxed. It was mostly a JV practice week, Tuesday and Thursday. The JVs are practicing this week, and they have a big game on Saturday morning if you can make it to the high school turf at 11 a.m. They're playing Louisville Male in what they're calling the JV Super Bowl. And some of the guys who've gotten a lot of playing time on Friday nights recently because of the one-sided games will be in that one, and they'll get a good test against one of the better programs in the state, one of the fellow top programs in the state. Scott County and Male have been at the top of the rankings for a long time on the varsity side of things. Varsity only worked out one day this week. It was on Wednesday. They've kind of had the weekend, the week off. They've kind of had an opportunity to heal up some of the nagging injuries and just kind of relax, almost like a spring and summer feel, even though the weather says otherwise. So next week will be the playoff game against George Rogers Clark, and of course we'll have the official Coaches Show preview to that. But in the meantime, we talked to several players and, of course, Coach McKee. Let's start with Coach McKee. He's excited about this week because he got a chance to work with some of the JV players a little more closely on practice, kind of scout out what next year is going to be like a little bit, and also give some of his top players a rest. Let's hear what Coach McKee had to say about this little break in the schedule.
Coach McKee is still beaming about the Cards' effort at PRP.
Trip to PRP went well. Woo! You happy with that one?
Yeah, I thought we played really well.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the best games that we've played in a long time. We were very complete, and we played well on offense, didn't turn the ball over, hit some nice play-action passes. Defensively, we turned them over a couple times. We 3-and-outed them a couple times. You know, special teams-wise, we blocked the punt. We had a long punt return. I was very pleased with the overall play, and I've been more pleased with the play last week of some of our senior players. You know, I've been kind of, have a very strong will, and, you know, I've butted heads with some of those guys throughout the season on some stuff, and they're either pretending to do it my way or starting to realize my way is the right way down the stretch here. So I've been pleased with the way some of them have responded and played.
The Cards seniors have begun showing a healthy sense of urgency.
You know, it gives you an insight to it. And, you know, after Clay and Colby have both graduated, they both have come back and said the first thing they said after their freshman season last game, well, this is what we'll do next year. The first thing they said after their sophomore season last game. This is what we'll do next year. Junior season, this is what we'll do next year. And so bottom line is that's what the underclassmen are saying, even though some of them play extremely critical roles. In the back of their mind, they think they have another year. You know, Glenn Covingtons and the Hudsons, those guys, we got to have them, Barnett's. But our seniors got to be the guys that'll take us as far as we're going to go.
This week's bye gives McKee a chance to develop some of the Cardinals' younger players.
Well, and it's just been a great opportunity. Yesterday we worked with our JV kids. They're going to play in the JV Super Bowl on Saturday at 11 against Louisville Male, and we were able to it's really like a, you know, we don't do spring practice at this school. And, you know, we truly believe that our kids ought to be involved in other sports if they want to play them. And we would never hold anything against them or even discourage them in any way. And it amazes me that some coaches do that in any sport at any level, from pee-wee to the pros. You know, I've had 2 or 3 college coaches ask me, said, hey, you know, what about Hudson? Where's he lean at? Well, first off, he's got a great set of parents and himself, and he's the one that's got to go to college the next 5 years, not me. I'm going to be here or retired on a farm. All right, but I said one thing might help you. If you truly would encourage him to throw the shot and disc and allow him to do that, I think he really wants to do it. And why wouldn't you? Selfish if you wouldn't, isn't it? That's just my opinion. So, you know, it's been good so that during that time period, we could work, like yesterday for the JVs was basically a spring practice. And we filmed it, the scrimmage, we graded it. And so I can look at Austin Taylor, who I'm looking at guard next year, and try to say, can Austin Taylor be our guard next year, or do we need to look at Cal Oaks? Or what are the things Austin Taylor needs to improve on? So I really enjoy that. I think one of the arts of coaching is getting the right pieces in the right place. The ability to evaluate talent and get it placed in a position to best help the team.
JV players played the entire second half at Pleasure Ridge Park.
Well, I didn't expect to get to look at him at PRP at all. You know, I really didn't. I mean, I would tell you if I did. I didn't expect that would happen. But we have, and we did, and we'll continue to get to look at him all throughout the postseason.
Some old rivals may be looming in the regional playoffs.
I really hope we play Clark, Madison Central, and Tates Creek, because those are the 3 teams that wouldn't play us.
You haven't played.
And you know, we've traditionally played those teams for years in home and home series, and all 3 of them chose to drop those home and home series. So we haven't played those schools this year. And I mean, I told the kids, obviously the goal is survive and advance. And if you're going to play whoever, if it's an inter squad, then you have to play on the inter squad to get to the next round. That's the obvious goal. But if you did give you an opportunity to play 3 teams that you hadn't played before, that would be fun.
The Cards are confident, but not overconfident heading into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I just try to take a very realistic approach with them. You know, I mean, some people major in a bunch of things. You know, I mean, no earrings, no facial hair, pants right here, this, that, you know. And if that works for them, that's awesome. For me, my number one concern is what's going to happen once I blow the whistle for Team Flex. I want everything they got out there, and I want them totally focused on being the best they can be. And so that's what works for us, and it, you know, we've had success with it in the past.
This week gives the Cards a chance to rest at least 2 key players with nagging injuries.
We held Peyton Brown out this week all week, and I can't really say for sure on him. We held Peyton and Dempster out all week. You know, we'll just have to see what the trainer says, but here's the bottom line. Somebody's going to get hurt. I don't want them to. You don't want them to. It's the worst part of it. You know, when you see somebody not get up when you're a football coach, your heart just sinks. Even when it's the other team, especially when it's mine. I used to say that Clay would run the ball. He'd run it, you know. I mean, basically, like, well, no, you're the coach. I mean, I'm his dad. I'm asking my son out to run it, so I would see him run it, and he'd go down, you know. And I had this automatic thing that said, what do you think I say? Get up. I just say it in my mind, get up. As soon as he got up, I'd relax, call his next play. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But the bottom line is there's a good chance it's going to happen to somebody. We can't use that as an excuse. If somebody goes down right in the middle of a big playoff game, it's our coach's responsibility to have the people ready to go in and play and us execute our game plan.
McKee reinforced the point that everyone on the roster needs to be prepared for the championship run.
I told them, and I gave them a little handout, and we got some awesome shirts that say November Ready. all the football players, all the principals, all the cheerleaders, all the dancers, 196 of them. We're going to wear them to school next Friday, and we're going to warm up in them. And I said, you know, we lost Scott Daniel. I gave him this handout. You know, we lost Scott Daniel in the 9th game in 2013. He didn't play again until the 14th game. And he was the best player on the team by 15%. I mean, he wasn't the best player on the team. He was the best player by 15%. He played, you know, defensive back, wide receiver, return kicks, return punts. And we had to win 4 games without him. So, you know, you're right. We got to be able to, I mean, best case scenario doesn't happen. But if it does, we got to go on.
All right, that was Coach McKee. He's relaxed this week. The players are pretty low-key as well. We talked to 3 of them. In fact, 2 linemen joined us. A lot of the unsung heroes, those linemen. Tano Trevino and Cam Carpenter, part of that group. They came together after the start of the season. Tano was a defensive starter last year. Neither one of those guys started on the line, but they've picked up the pace, and that offense has clicked with those guys up front. And also Austin Barnett, the fullback who's just had a huge season in his first year as a starter. 4 touchdowns this past week against Pleasure Ridge Park. Let's see what Tano, Cam, and Austin had to say.
The players agree that PRP was Scott County's best overall performance of the season.
That's probably one of the best games we've played all year. Everything was clicking. We were finally meshing as an offense. We ran all our plays right for the most part. It all worked.
Well, as a team, it was finally just one time where we were all just coming together and just playing at our absolute best. And then it showed on the field. We were up like 48-7, going into half or something like that. Just everything was clicking.
I thought we did great the first half. That was like one of the best first halves I think we've ever played. And we just executed really well and played as a team, and things worked out.
The open date comes at a welcome place on the schedule for the Cardinals.
Oh, for sure. It's been a tough season. It's 10 weeks in a row of games every week, practices all through the week, and finally being able to take a week off, and all you got to do is lift. But it's really been helpful to get relaxed and get your mind ready for the postseason.
That was actually a huge blast, honestly. I was tired after that last game, even though we only played a half. Just everybody's going hard in practice, so this practice today, everybody was trying their all out, having that week. We don't have practice tomorrow or the next day, so I'm just giving it all our all this today.
Yeah, I think we went hard today. I think it was like kind of a refreshing kind of thing, as it was just one practice throughout the week.
Offensive line improvement has been reflected in the Cards' consistent performance on the scoreboard.
Learning all our plays and being able to run them together, because even though we're just the linemen, we're not having the ball, we still have to time them. Because people are pulling and people are going the other way and going across each other's faces, and being able to do it, not run into each other, and being able to do it as fast as possible. That's been our biggest improvement, is just meshing.
I think I've improved a lot by getting faster and stronger and focusing in on what I'm doing on the field. Because last year I wasn't very strong, wasn't very fast, and I had big shoes to fill in because Jesse Hamby was in my position last year.
Young players have showcased their talent in the second half of several lopsided recent wins.
It's really good for them too, because they won't come in like next year, they won't come in not knowing what to do. They have an idea of what they're doing.
Barnett leads the team in touchdowns, and most of his work has been done up the middle.
I like to take faking as a serious attribute to football, because if you fake someone out, I mean, somebody else sees someone going after that person, they're gonna fall along with them. So you just carry out everything you can. I don't know. I like running inside. I like to see the holes. I like that vision. I don't know. I just running around blocks, seeing where stuff's gonna be, making that move at the right time.
Scott County won't overlook George Rogers Clark in the first round of the playoffs next week.
Can't ease up. We got to have our playoff mentality from game one. I mean, upsets can happen anytime. Look at Super Bowl last year with the Patriots and the Falcons. Can't let up ever.
Yeah, no matter how big a lead you get, right?
Yep, no matter who it is, no matter what the score is, always got to go 100%, especially in the playoffs.
We somewhat know what's coming, but for the most part, we just got to keep our head in the game, just not let up at all. Just go 100% until we're taken out or until the game's over.